Hi guys, it's Sam here with Bargain Hunting Blonde, and today I am bringing to you a quick chatty video about the 3 sites that I no longer shop for luxury on. And this is focused on Preloved luxury. As you guys know, I buy both Preloved and new. It just depends on where the best deal is because I love hunting for a deal. So if you are not a Preloved person, this probably doesn't apply to you because I'm not talking about different boutiques or any different websites like that. But I am talking about where you would buy Preloved luxury. So number 1 for me is Poshmark. I have been shopping on Poshmark since I think 2012 or 2013. So the very, very beginning. I have found a lot of good deals on there, I really had, but recently, probably within the last year or two, I have stopped completely looking at luxury on that platform because there are a couple reasons. One, there are tons of fakes on that platform, like very evident fakes, but if you are someone who is new to the luxury world, you might not notice and you will get taken for a ride. 2, I do understand that if the item is over $500, they do say they authenticate the item. I personally have had friends and read stories of items going through authentication that were over $500 that they deemed authentic, and they were like very clearly not authentic. And when you went to a professional authenticator like Real Authentication, Authenticate First, those sort of platforms, they said no, the item was fake. So I don't trust their authentication process. And 3 are the Poshmark horror stories. So my friend Jess from She's the Posh had a horror story where she ended up buying a Chloe Faye, I believe it was a backpack, the mini Faye backpack, and actually one of the straps was completely off the bag. The lady had not disclosed it in the written part of the listing, and she had in one of the pictures, kind of off to the side in the back, shown that there was like an extra piece. But she didn't say like or show that the strap was off, and Poshmark sided with the seller. And so Jess ended up keeping a bag that was defective and needed to be repaired, which, you know, if you know you're buying that, that's different than not knowing at all. There also has been a lot of talk about how people will sell or buy on the platform and they will get a box from the seller using the Poshmark label and it will be something completely not what they bought. So, you know, say you buy something that's luxury, but it's not $500, so it's not going to Poshmark first, no authentication. You're still spending a good amount of money. You could literally end up with a roll of tape instead of whatever else you had purchased. That scares me. I don't want to be dealing with that. I will still look at Poshmark for things that are at a lower price point, that I'm not so worried about authenticity, that sort of thing, but in general, I just stay away from Poshmark. 2, and you guys will have seen my video on this, is The RealReal. I have previously worked with The RealReal. I bought many things from them. I have been to their stores. There's actually one in Palo Alto, which is where I live. But I would not purchase from The RealReal anymore after my experience with purchasing a fake and them relisting it and relisted it for more money than I paid for it, which is completely crazy. But I just don't trust the platform. There's been many articles about their authentication services and how they're just kind of asking random employees to authenticate things. I think that the idea of buying Preloved, you know, really being recycling and sustainable and all of that is great. I love that. And I think The RealReal has some really cool vintage pieces, but I just don't want the stress of buying a fake, and they seem to be a platform that has lots of issues with it. And I just don't want to deal with that. So if you want to hear more about that whole story, I will link the video up above and down below in the description box. But yeah, that was kind of wild, and yeah, that just not again. It's not worth the stress of all of that, because for me, I do not approve of goods that are copies, counterfeit, not authentic, all of that. So I just want to stay away from it. And 3, the final one, which I should have known better after seeing all the people who had problems with them, is Vestiire. I'm not sure exactly how you say it. Collective. They are another site But unlike the Real, who actually has the item in their possession and puts up their own photos, they allow the seller to put up their own photos. So you will actually see the same item on there more than once, because one seller is pretending to sell something they have and has stolen someone else's photos, which right there is a red flag. Two, they have, to me, a ton of hidden fees. So they pretend like they're transparent, but then you go to buy the item and like check out and do everything, and all of a sudden the item just goes up like $200, which is a lot. And I also don't trust their authentication process. I have had friends who have gotten things that, like, I'm surprised there are even fakes out there, but like fake Saison sweaters. And then you really have to fight with them to get your money back. And even then, I've had friends who've had to stop the payment through their credit card because Vestiire is not helpful. Their idea is like, oh, well, okay, we'll just relist it and sell it. It's like, no, I don't want to be selling a fake. This item is not authentic. You know, I don't want to be involved with this item, and it's just really a battle. So they have the fake problem. They have the hidden fees that appear out of nowhere problem. And then lastly, for me with Vestiire, it is a very long process to finally get the item. And I understand that they do cater more towards European customers than US customers, but the shipping times, especially to go through their authentication process, adds on like sometimes 2 to 3 weeks, especially if the seller is not efficient at initially sending out the item. And that's really annoying because you're paying for the shipping. It takes forever to get to you. And then by the time it gets to you, you've been stressed. You're like, is it authentic? Is it not authentic? Like, I don't know. And so the only things I've ever bought from Vestiire Collective, I have immediately had them authenticated and been very worried, and have reached out to them immediately because you only have 72 hours, I believe, to report any issues. And so I reached out being like, hey, I just got this. I'm not sure if it's authentic, because I do not know, and I want it to be authenticated, and I want to make sure I give my authentication service enough time to authenticate the item. I have been lucky. I have only ever bought 3 things from there, and all of them have been authentic, thankfully, but just a very stressful process, and all of them cost more than they initially said they were going to, even though they now allegedly are transparent about their fees. So if I had not had a good enough deal to begin with, I would have not purchased the item. But luckily I had sourced some deals, and that was the only reason I was considering using Vestiire at all. So those are the 3 that I no longer buy luxury through. Maybe they will change. I know there's been a lot of heat towards, especially Vestiire, however you say it, and the Real. Poshmark, I think, doesn't deal with it as much because they're not solely a luxury platform. But kind of an honorable mention in here, which might be a little controversial, and I will be fully transparent. I buy from them all the time, but I also buy from them knowing that I can return, and have recently had to return some items that I really would have liked to keep, is Fashionfile. So I have been buying from Fashionfile since the front desk lady at my apartment when I lived in LA. She told me about it. She also loved luxury, but both her and I, I was a student on a constrained budget, just basically saving money up from the summer to occasionally buy a couple little things. And she was also a student and working the front desk, and she was saving up as well. So she told me about Fashionfile. This was a long time ago, like when they were still half their own website, like half eBay. And so I have been shopping from them from a very long time. My first ever Preloved luxury purchase was my Celine mini luggage tote. Actually, it's the micro luggage tote. And I bought it from them, and I was super excited. But recently I have noticed that their prices are really high, as in like over retail, even though the item is in stock via retail. So like, for example, I have been really hunting the Celine Triomphe bag. I think it's really beautiful. I'd like it in a neutral color. So I have been looking at Fashionfile, and their prices have been $200 to $300 over retail, exactly at retail. Or there was one bag that I liked. I actually purchased, I got it. It had way more scratches on it than they had disclosed, and it was much more worn than they said it was. And so I had emailed them saying, hey guys, like, just so you know, there are a lot more marks on this than you said. They did just put it back up with the old pictures and didn't change the description. So that's unfortunate. And I know a lot of people who've had similar issues, which is their second thing, is their descriptions have gone by the wayside, and same with their pictures, which is super unfortunate because they were the best with pictures. They had tons of pictures. They had them on a mannequin. They had great descriptions and were like very thorough of what was wrong with the bag. And I have just noticed that maybe they're just going through so many products that quality level is not there. So I will keep buying from Fashionfile. I really do like their product. I do think there are still deals on there, but really look at the item when you get it and make sure it's matching the description. And luckily they have a very easy return process, but it has been a little more hit or miss for me with them, which is unfortunate because I actually really, really like Fashionfile. But that is my quick chatty video for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to know what pre-loved luxury sites, that you no longer shop down below. If you don't feel comfortable commenting down below, please feel free to DM me. I love to talk about this stuff. I think the more you talk to other people and learn about their experiences, the more educated you are for your eventual purchases. If you want to see how I style my bags or what I'm purchasing, please make sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, my blog, all of which are linked down below. I make videos like this now 3 times a week. So if you would like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it. I know a lot of you just tune in and then don't subscribe. But if you'd love to come back, please subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.